All right. I'm live on both Instagram and TikTok. So we're gonna get into it. Let me figure out which camera to look at. I am going to let my email list know that I am live right now. And today we're going to talk about, I don't even know where to look. Today we're going to talk about the spirituality in entrepreneurship, why entrepreneurship is spiritual, why you need your intuition to be able to guide you, on the journey of entrepreneurship, how it actually started as like a spiritual request, as like a spiritual download versus the idea that it was just, that it was thought out. It wasn't thought out. So I sent the email out. Oh, yep, I just got it. Perfect. Before we jump in, I'm going to be reposting these onto YouTube so you can catch the replay there. My name is Nikki. I am a intuition and business vision coach. I have experience, and then I also do have a couple certifications in spiritual life coaching and storytelling coaching. So let's jump in. If you are a woman who is a service based entrepreneur, right? You offer a service. That can be an esthetician, you are a coach, you are, what are some other services out there? You are real estate could, that's a service. You know what I mean? You're providing a service to give people their home. You are a realtor. You are just somebody who has to take on clients, right? You have to have clients in order to run your business. You are being of service to somebody. Cosmetology, yes, that is a service. Thank you, Sari. Yes, cosmetology, that would be considered a service, right? You are offering a service to somebody. So when we think of entrepreneurship and we think about what it is that we do, let's use cosmetology, for example. Cosmetology comes from the spirit of creation, right? You are creating a look, you are creating some type of transformation for your client that is physical, right? Even personal trainers, that is a service. That is a type of business that creates a transformation. So when we take it back to the spiritual, somewhere, and I'm gonna prove to you right now why it started spiritual from the beginning. At the beginning, you had an idea. The idea was, I'm going to start this business, right? I'm going to become a cosmetologist. I'm going to start coaching people. I'm going to become an esthetician. Whatever it is, right? You had an idea. You had an idea to start offering a service to people. The misconception is that the ideas are thoughts and that they come directly from the brain. Ideas formulate in the brain, but they do not come from the brain. The to have an idea is to actually have it come from your intuition, you receive what's called a download, right? And so it's a calling from above. You get an idea. That is the first part of using your intuition in business. You get this idea and you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to start this business, right? When we think of ideas, ideas are downloads. They are nothing more than downloads. We don't have to grasp onto every single idea, but ideas at the end of the day are downloads. Well, hello, Bianca. I want to put text on the screen. Okay, I'll get back into that. I don't even know how to do that. Let me see. Yeah. Hold on a second, y'all. Um, Lightning Q&A. I don't even know what that means. If I put a comment, does that let me add something? No. If I be scrolling on these lives sometimes and I see like your guys' text on the screen and I don't know how to do that. Oh, it's locked. Okay, let me start going live more so I can do that. Anyways, you can pin your own comment. You have to add the text before you go live. Girl, I didn't even know where to do it. All right, whatever. Let's get back in. That'll be for the next one. Okay, let's get back into the calling from above. So you receive what's called a download. You get this thought, you get this idea, and you start to operate. That is the first step of using your intuition for business. That is how the business started. That is quite literally how the business began. You had an intuitive idea and you decided to run with it. Now, the second piece that proves that entrepreneurship is spiritual is, in order to run with the idea, you had to have some certain level of faith that it could work. Faith, confidence, those are the same thing, right? Those are the same thing. You had to have faith that this business would operate, and faith that clients would come to you, and faith that not only would it operate, but that it would fund your lifestyle, that it would be able to provide money to be able to support you. Okay, you had to have the faith in that. And so when we think about the faith is, that's an intuitive belief. You cannot put logic behind faith. No matter how much you try to argue it, there is no putting logic behind faith because it's not logical. It's not logical to believe in something that you cannot see. It's faith, which operates from the spirit, which is within the intuition. That is the intuitive piece, right? So those two things to get you started is what started your business. Your business has been intuitive from the start. Now, what ends up happening is somewhere along the line, because we realize we have the faith that it's going to work, but then we're like, well, hold up, because I need a strategy. I don't know sales. I don't know marketing. I don't know where to find these clients. I don't know how to talk to these clients. So you need some type of faith, or I'm sorry, some type of strategy to filter your comments. Okay, I'll do that later. You need some type of strategy in order to make it work. This is when things start getting a little bit messy and disconnected, because now nobody starts a business to not make money. I mean, that's as real as it can get. Nobody starts a business to be like, you know what, I'm gonna start this business, but I'm not gonna get paid. I don't want the money. I just want to have it. That's not how it works. So then you go into the strategy, right? So as you get into a business strategy, well, somewhere along the lines, we get so caught up in strategy because we listen to the noise, right? We listen to the outside noise. Well, this person, she's also a cosmetologist and she does what I do and she's making like, 5 figures a month. I'm going to follow her strategy. Or this person over here, well, she's a coach and she's like a similar coach that I am and I really like her style. So I'm going to follow her strategy. And you need strategy. There's nothing wrong with strategy. But what happens is we get so into the strategy of everything that we forget to listen to the intuition that started the business in the first place. When you have the idea, you know how you want to see the business operate. You know how the business is going to run. You know how you have the vision, right? You can envision the entire business model. You know who you want to serve. You know how you want to serve them, right? That's the idea that comes through for all of us. But then when we get into the strategy part and we start to focus on strictly the strategy, well, then we shut out the intuitive voice. The intuitive voice has been telling you all along, you need to go and create this type of product. You should put out this type of service, right? You need to offer some 60-minute intensives. You need to put out like a 6-week coaching intensive, right? But then we hire the wrong person. Not intentionally, we just hire them because we see that they have another piece that we want, which is the big money. So then we hire them, but they scaled it differently. Because at the end of the day, everything works, right? Everything works. You just have to decide what works for you. Everything works. So they scaled it differently. Ooh, let me swipe that away. So since they scaled it differently, now you're following a strategy that never aligned with your intuitive download to begin with. It never aligned with the business vision. And so now you're having this back and forth of like, well, the strategy works. I need to stick to the strategy. Of course the strategy works because all strategies work. People make money going live every day. People make money have never been live before and just post every day. People make money getting website traffic to blogs. People make money emails, strictly email marketing. People make money on social media, off social media, right? At the end of the day, every strategy works. And so when we get so caught up in the strategy and we lose that intuitive voice, well, now we're running and operating a business that doesn't even feel good. Who wants that? That was not the purpose. That was not the purpose of what you were supposed to do. What you were supposed to do was start the business, follow the business idea, and then continue to allow yourself to receive the ideas and operate on them, right? This is where the flow state comes in. And I've talked about this in my content before, is the flow state of being a service entrepreneur, a woman service provider that is an entrepreneur, has a service-based business, is as follows. Let me get a piece of paper. I'll write it down. You have, okay, I'm gonna give you some arrows. So you have the idea. You all see that? Idea. It is backwards. I'm gonna do my best here. You have the idea, right? You get the little light bulb. That is not a light bulb. Whatever. You get the idea. That's the light bulb. Okay, so you get the idea. That is received. The arrow comes in towards me. You receive the idea. The idea comes to you. Now that the idea has come to you, you ponder the idea, which came from intuition, and then you take the first step of action, which would be to write a plan. Any business idea comes with a plan. You sit down and you write your plan, right? You're like, okay, I've got this idea. Let me make sense of it because it's kind of coming in bits and pieces. Let me make sense of it a little bit. And then once I make sense of it, I'll execute. So writing is an action. Writing is putting pen to paper, idea to idea in here or in here to the 3D. And then that's it. So you write your plan. Now, after you write your plan, you move it along in your arrow of flow. Once you write your plan, then you implement. Implementation, which is essentially action part 2, right? So then you have the implementation. So then you implement on the plan, and you do that and you do that until you receive another idea. Then another idea comes from you and you repeat the steps, right? This is operating in flow. Now, when we take it back to the implementation, that is essentially the strategy. You know what strategy that you want to follow. You know the strategy that you want your business to run on. The issue and the disconnect between not letting entrepreneurship be spiritual and listening to the outside noise is, like I said before, all strategies work. And so the thing of it is, when you are implementing a strategy that did not belong to you, now you hate your business. Now you're thinking it's not working. I don't like this. I wasn't meant to do it this way, right? Then that's the disconnect. Oops, excuse me. That becomes the disconnect. Now you're not listening to your intuition. You're implementing a strategy. You're in this part of flow, except if you're not in flow, you're in the implementation. The arrow never comes back to idea because you're implementing what somebody else did. Now, this is not to say that you should not hire a mentor, a coach, somebody to take you there. I promise you, that is not at all what I'm trying to say. You should absolutely have somebody to guide you, right? You absolutely should have somebody to guide you, while you're building a business or while you're scaling a business or whatever it is. However, to make the best decisions for your business, you need to be able to trust what your intuition is telling you. Okay? And a good coach will help get you there. A good coach will guide you along that. A good coach will give you strategies that work, not just one, because a good coach knows that it's not just one strategy. A good coach will give you a couple strategies that work, and then you take and you sit for a minute and you figure out, okay, which one works best for my business? Which one is going to help me to fulfill an answer to my purpose, right? That is the difference. That is the difference between just following a strategy for the sake of following strategy because you want money, or operating in flow where you can have the strategy that comes from your own intuition, and you know that it'll work because you continued on the process. The business idea was already intuitive. You had the faith to start, right? That was already the initial part of the intuition. Let me look at my notes real quick. Okay. So as we do that continuously, we go into the flow of, God, why does everybody want to text me right now? Nobody texts me all day, and all of a sudden I want to do my first live and everybody is texting me. Leave me alone. Anyways, making me lose my train of thought. Okay. So we have our flow. I jumped around. It's okay. We have our flow. Let's take it back to the why behind the business, right? I'm going to show you right now where the brain logicalized the intuition that you had received from actually starting this business. So when we go back to the idea, you have an idea for your business, right? And I don't care how long you've been in business. If you've been in business for, 6-7 years and you've scaled it, but you feel like you've hit a little bit of a wall and you're like, I'm not loving this anymore. It's the lack of intuition, which is why I'm bringing you back to the beginning. At the very beginning, when you had the idea, that was the intuitive download. Now, what the brain has to do, because the brain is a logical thing, it thinks, right? That's what it does. It thinks. The brain had to make it logical. And so if you have ever started a business and hired a mentor, your mentor at some point was like, well, tell me your why. What's your why, right? Why do you want this business? And when they tell you, when they ask you this, you kind of spew something off, right? You're like, oh, well, I wanted to start it because I want more time, or because I want to not put my kids in daycare. I want to stay home with my kids, or because you want to, let's see, I have some other examples. You wanted to not have a boss, right? You're like, I don't want a boss. I want to work for myself. You know, I don't want to trade time for money, right? I wanted to help people. That's another one. Like, well, what is your why? Like, well, I really want to help people. Okay. Again, those are logical. If you ever had a good coach, and if you haven't, I'm gonna be your good coach right now. What is the why behind that? What is the why that gives you a feeling? Because the why that is logical, that's great, but that's not going to cut it at the end of the day, because then you're going to logicalize every single thing through it. Hi, Sally. I'm on two screens, so I'm like trying not to miss nobody. Then your brain's going to make it logical. Your brain's going to just be like, well, I want to control my time. Let's take that one. I want to control my time. I don't want to trade time for money. Okay, that's fair. A lot of us don't. Why? Why don't you want to trade? What are you going to do with that extra time? Why is that time so important to you? What does taking that time back give you? Does it allow you to make a greater impact? Is it going to allow you, maybe you're like, well, I want that time so that I can homeschool my kids, so that I can go volunteer at a nonprofit, so that I can make food for the homeless, so that if I have that time, I can do XYZ, right? Like something that's been placed on your heart. That's the why. That is the calling. That is the soul. The business is how you get the starting the business and developing that time freedom and stuff. That's how you get to the calling. That's a piece of the calling. Okay. So when we get to the emotional side behind the why, that's the intuition. That is the message that was placed on your heart. That is what you're supposed to be doing. The business is a piece of that. Now, the business, yes, let me use myself as an example. In my business, I help women strengthen their intuition. Women entrepreneurs, I help them strengthen their intuition so that they can operate their business and flow and essentially cut out the outside noise. So you're not listening to strategies that don't feel good, right? That's a portion of what I'm meant to do here on this earth. The other portion is I need the time to pour into my children also. My children are small. You see what I'm saying? So there's multiple whys behind it. I need to be able to pour into my children. I want to make a lot of money to be able to donate it back. You see what I'm saying? So like there's a lot more behind the scenes, if you will, to the why than what the brain has logicalized. The brain has just made it like, well, this is what makes sense. That's what it does. It makes sense of things. It's a blessing and a curse at the end of the day, because if you make sense of everything, then you're not sitting within your intuition. Hi, girls. How are you? Then you're not sitting within your intuition. Intuition is not meant to make sense. Okay? If you believe in God, you know that obedience does not always make sense. Okay? You know that these things, like, it's not meant to, you cannot always logicalize it, right? You cannot logicalize the obedience within the intuition. Okay, it's just, you can't do it. The brain will try to do it, and that's why you have this. Once you start taking action and you start getting further along in this business, or you're ready to scale it, or you're ready to do whatever it is, that's why you have this inner dialogue that's going back and forth, and what is supposed to be a normalcy feels uncomfortable, right? This is why we're throwing away money when we get big lump sums of money. Oh my God, I got too much money in my bank account. I got to get rid of it. You know what? I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy that, and I'm going to buy this, because this is way too much, and my brain cannot make sense of this. And so since my brain cannot make sense of this, now my nervous system is a mess, because it's uncomfortable. But see, the brain and the ego will continue to make things uncomfortable until we lean into our intuition to remind ourselves that this is actually comfortable. This is actually a new normal. This is actually the way that things are supposed to be. I'm supposed to have a lot of money. Okay? That's my normalcy. I'm supposed to have money. I'm supposed to be rich. Right now it feels foreign because, physically, we're not there yet. Okay? So, what's next? One moment, because I lost my other notes. Lowe's. I took notes on my notebook because I write. That's what I do. But then I also had some notes on my computer. And I don't know why I did that because now I got to look at two different spaces. But anyways, okay. So when you cut out the logical noise, and you take it back to entrepreneurship being spiritual, being intuitively led, the thing about entrepreneurship, once you've been in it, when you recognize now that the beginning was intuition, it was never about logic. Oh, excuse me, 1 second. How are the kids? They're good. They are inside with their daddy. I am doing this, and then I've got a little more work to do, and then I'm going. They miss you guys, though. They said they were like, when are we going to go over there? I think we're going to try to go next weekend. So they do want to see you. And they want to play at the park and do all that fun stuff. Okay, so entrepreneurship is spiritual. Entrepreneurship is spiritual because once you received the idea, which came from intuition, you began to execute, which was a leap of faith. Everything that you cannot see is what you started, right? You took the action, you started in flow, right? You wrote out of the plan, and then you started to implement. And somewhere along the way within the implementation part, we've lost sight of the intuitive part. Excuse me. My throat chakra's like, don't tell them that. Once you get into it, you know that, bye kids, I'll see you soon, okay? You know that the intuition, that the journey that you have to go on as an entrepreneur, it is transformative, right? You've got to go through like almost like, well, it is like a spiritual transformation. Nobody starts a business thinking like, you know what, I'm gonna start this business and I'm gonna go on a spiritual journey at the same time. That is not how it works because the brain has logicalized it. The brain has made it, starting this business, so logical that we don't see the spiritual side. We think the idea came because the brain thought it up, right? No. And so when you continue along the journey, and you continue along this journey of entrepreneurship, you have to become a new person. You are constantly evolving into a new identity. You are constantly, going through this process of hitting what some people like to call an upper limit. So we'll use that term, hitting an upper limit, and then essentially breaking the glass ceiling. That does not happen by accident. That does not happen without retraining the brain, the nervous system, the subconscious belief system. It doesn't work like that. In order for you to break past these upper limits and continue upwards and go, oh my God, everybody leave me alone. To continue upwards and go through, you have to become somebody new. You have to take on a new identity. When you decided to start the business, you started to take on a new identity, an identity of, I'll get back to that later. You had to take on the identity of, I lost my train of thought. Oh, of CEO. Duh. You had to take on that new identity. So as you took on the new identity and you made yourself comfortable with these new normals, right? Your nervous system, your spirit had to be comfortable with what is a new normal within entrepreneurship. What is a new normal within entrepreneurship? If you come from corporate, then you know that the new normal in entrepreneurship is you can't always predict your income. Now, if you come from corporate sales, you have a little bit of an upper hand because you're used to that. But overall, like that is something you had to get used to, is like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to predict my income all the time, right? Now, there are ways to do that. That's not what this session is about. So as you continue on and you break through these new identities, here's what makes it spiritual. Nobody can see it. That's the whole thing with intuition. Nobody can see it. The same way nobody can see that idea. Nobody knows you have this idea until you write it down on paper and you implement and you tell somebody, until you start to go into the cycle of flow. Nobody knows that you have this idea. Nobody can tell the internal glass ceilings that you're breaking. Nobody can tell about all of the ways that you have been transforming your beliefs and changing your beliefs. Nobody can tell in the beginning because your outer reality is not yet caught up. right? It hasn't caught up to this spiritual side of entrepreneurship. It hasn't caught up to the intuitive side. So these are all things that you can feel. But at the same time, if you are trying to explain it to somebody, it doesn't make sense, right? That's the intuition. That's the part of the entrepreneurial growth as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, that you still are operating by faith on. Entrepreneurship, you have to believe in something that you sometimes cannot see. And this doesn't matter if you are day one starting a business and believing that the business can work, or if you are year 5 sitting at $1,000 days and you're like, I know I can have $2,000 days. I know I can make $3,000 every single day. Well, now you have to, your intuition has told you that. Your intuition has said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to make $3,000 every single day. Now your physical world, it don't look like that. Okay. You are going now through an internal intuitive process to become the woman who offers services that bring in $3,000 a day. Nobody can see that. Nobody can see like, oh, you know what? Nikki's intuition is changing. They don't know. They're not going to know. I'm not telling them. You know what I mean? This is all what's coming from within. There might be a couple people who know, like, you know, people I'm comfortable with might know, like, oh yeah, she's really going, you know, she's really going in. But like the people who are not on this journey, they don't know. And so that's where the transformation starts to happen, right? You start transforming as an entrepreneur. You have to still believe in the intuition and have the spiritual to keep it moving along. And as you keep it moving along and you keep it evolving, this is where, taking it back to flow, now you operate in flow. So see, now let's use that example, right? You want $3,000 days. Okay. You received the download. You received the idea. You received the belief. I believe I can do $3,000 a day. I believe I've been in this business long enough that I can raise my prices. I can do this. I deserve more money. Okay. So now you have that, right? You take the action. You take your pen, you take your notebook, and you begin to write. You write out the action. Okay, I have, you know what I have right now? This is you, right? This is you thinking and taking action. You take your notebook and you write out a business plan. You're like, okay, I have this product, this service that I offer for $3,000 for 6 weeks. I have this course that I offer and I sell it for, we'll say, $7.97 per course. I have, right? You start listing out the things that you have. And then you reevaluate and you look at the things that you have. And so now you've got, well, hold on, I'm skipping ahead. So now you take an action 1, you write out what you have. And now sub B, if you will, of action 1 still, is now you're writing out, well, what can I do to turn my $1,500 days to 3K days? What do I need to do? So then you write out some more action, right? Okay, well, I have this course and right now it's selling for $7.97, but I've gotten some really good testimonials on it. So you know what? I'm going to up this price to $1,000. So this course is now worth $1,000. And you know what? Instead of my goal of selling 2 a day, I'm going to sell 3 a day. Oh, wait a second. If I sell 3 of these a day, I'm already at my goal. Action 1. You wrote it down. But now you have to implement it. Okay, so 3 a day. So how am I going to do that, right? Oh, I skipped ahead. You still got to write out how you're going to do that. No, you don't have to write out how you're going to do that. That is the faith. But now you're writing it out, right? And you're like, okay, I need to sell 3 of these a day. And then you look and you start to implement and you're like, okay, where can I become more, right? Not necessarily do more. Where can I become more? Where can I show up more? What needs to change in my messaging to attract more people? What do I need to do in my personal life to become this person? See, now that's a question you could ask, and then you wait for the download and you're still in flow. You're still operating from intuition. So then you ask this question, right? Who do I need to become to be the person who receives $3,000 every single day in my business? And then you become that. That is the implementation. Now you're in flow again. Now you're in 3K days. One thing I want to point out about flow and when it comes to mentorships and hiring the right mentor. When you are scaling, when you have your business and you're wanting more out of your business or you're wanting more fulfillment out of your business, Sometimes, yes, you need another strategy. If you're looking for strategy and you're looking for a mentor who does strategy, make sure you are finding a mentor who implements a strategy that feels good to you. And I don't mean good as in like, excuse me. I don't mean good as in like, oh, this is so safe. I'm going to play the safe zone. No, that's not what I mean. I mean they've done it the way that you envision it. Okay? Because if you want to sell, let's take like let's take an esthetician for example, right? You have these services you want to offer, and you have got the idea, you got the intuitive download that you want to make more money, but not through services. You want to be able to teach, right? And so you go and you write out a plan, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I could create, like, I could become certified to teach people maybe how to do lash extensions, or I could create a course, or I could create something, right, that can sell on the back end. That is not something, it's like semi-passive income, if you will, right? Sells on autopilot. Then you want somebody to teach you how to do that. Don't go find the mentor who scaled by hiring a team and just offering like double the services. That's not what you're looking for. Why would you do that? And I see that happen. I'm saying this because I see that happen, because we think we need a new strategy, but we think we need a new strategy because we're not tuned in to the actual intuitive downloads. Oh, right, I got a sale. The actual intuitive downloads that we're receiving, to find the mentor who aligns with that, right? And if you're not receiving intuitive downloads, if you're strictly chasing strategy after strategy after strategy after strategy, and you're feeling just completely tore up and burnt out and lost, then you need somebody who can guide you to strengthen that intuition. I do that. I do that. There's some freebies in my bio too. It's not even like, I mean, I offer services for that, but there is also, if you want to like tap into the business vision and things like that, I've got a free meditation in my bio. And I have a free newsletter where I talk about the spiritual side of entrepreneurship. So if you are a reader, you can go sign up for that newsletter as well. Okay, back to this. Where was I? Because I got confused. Not confused, I got lost telling you all not to hire the wrong people. Okay, so we had the transformation. Let's see. Your upper limits. Oh, that's everywhere. Okay, so you're making, now you've figured out how you're going to make $3,000 per day, right? You've turned off the logic, and you've turned on the intuition, and you've got the download of it's time to move higher, right? It's time to move past $1,500 a day, and now we want to make $3,000 a day. And so then you wrote out your plan, and now you have your plan, and everything is back in flow. And this is how you scale in flow. You have to learn how to be still sometimes. You have to learn how to sit still and receive the guidance and the downloads so that you can take the action. If you look at our little circles here, we had idea, which is the intuitive download, to the first plan of action, which is to write the plan, and then to implement the plan. If you're stuck in implementation all the time, well, then it's not going to go anywhere. You're just implementing what? Implementing what you keep hearing from everybody else. Sorry, the leaf blower's on outside. I'm trying to make sure it goes away. 1 second. Okay. Anyways. Right. So then if you're stuck in the implementation of just following everybody else's strategies, again, that's why your business feels burnt out all over the place. And it's not the idea that we had in the beginning, right? Like I said, the esthetician now wants to scale, and maybe this was always on her heart. Maybe it was always on her heart to be able to offer services, but then to also teach, and to teach through these services and to teach through digital products. But she's focused on what the next esthetician is telling her to do, and so she's not even following the guidance. And so now the business that started as an idea that's supposed to operate in a state of flow and in a state of serving others it's not doing that. And so that's why the CEO is upset. That's why the CEO is like, well, hold on a second, how come I feel like burning this down now? How come I don't want this? Because somewhere along the line you got disconnected from the initial mission. Downloads are nothing more than, well, essentially they're nothing more than parts of your God-given purpose, right? So when you use intuition in business and you strengthen that intuition and you strengthen it by obeying it, and you obey the things that you're supposed to do even when they don't make sense, you receive more. And as you receive more, then you have more actions to take. And as you have more actions to take, you have more things that you can implement. And as you have more things that you can implement, then you get to become more of who you wanted to become. That's the cycle. That's the cycle of flow. So, bringing it back home, entrepreneurship is spiritual. I was in a flow, and then that leaf blower threw me off. I'm a little upset about that. Anyways, I was like, I didn't think we were gonna wrap up now. Entrepreneurship is spiritual. Entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey. You will go on a journey. It starts off as an idea, which is a download that has been received. And as you receive the download, you take the action. And when you take the action, and the action can be a leap of faith. Well, you take the action, you write it down, then you implement. All of this is backed by faith in the beginning. Every single time that you move upwards, every single time that you want to hit a new normal in business, that will always be backed by faith. This is why it is spiritual. It will be backed by faith and backed by confidence. It is not something that people can see. They can't see it until it's done. Once it's done, then there's a new proof, right? But the essential death and rebirth to get to that new proof is not something that they could see. Nobody can see the internal transformation. Nobody can see that, all of the upper limits that you had to hit, all of the subconscious beliefs you had to change, the way you had to rewire everything to make what has become normal in reality, normal on the inside first. So if you are running a business and you are not tapping into your intuition, then you are facing not burnout. I don't want to call it burnout, but you run the risk of facing unfulfillment later down the line in your business. If you don't keep your intuition as your business partner, your number one business partner is your intuition. Call it what you want, higher self, God, source, spirit, whatever. At the end of the day, that is your number one business partner. And so when you have intuition as your number one business partner, well, then everything just falls in line behind it. Everything falls into that circle of flow. So I'll leave that with that. This is going to be a new topic of discussion on these lives. I have an email list that is called, an email newsletter that is called The Spiritual Side of Entrepreneurship. There are freebies in my bio. There's a business vision meditation and journaling guide. I strongly recommend that you journal all the time. It does not have to, I know you're like, I'm running a business, I ain't got time for that. I promise you, your business will run better if you let yourself write. So take a pen, take a notebook, write some things out there. Inside that meditation, the business vision meditation, there's a post journaling guide that goes with it and instructions on how to do intuitive writing, which is essentially taking a question at the top of the page. That's how I do it. And writing everything that comes up so that you can get all of your intuitive thoughts out onto paper. You can see what's really running the show. Because the other thing is, we think we're running the show logically with our brains. That's not how it goes. That's not how it goes. Our belief systems run the show. That's why you keep seeing these same patterns. You haven't figured out what the pattern is and what you need to release on that pattern, right? But we'll get more into intuitive writing in another live. But yeah, so there's the business vision meditation. If you go to the link in my bio, you can download that for free along with the journaling guide. If you are somebody who already journals and you're like, or wants to start journaling and you're like, I need prompts, there is also another freebie in my bio that is 65 journal prompts for entrepreneurs. So this is strictly business focused. So you can uncover the root of your business and how you want your business to run, especially if you're starting to feel disconnected from your business, or it's there's something missing there. I'll tell you right now, what's missing is your intuition. That's it. That's what's missing. Once you uncover that, girl, that business will be going. Anyways, So all of those are in my bio. I do have a couple one-on-one intensive spots. So if you want to deep dive into this specifically for you, I know this was an overview. So if you want to deep dive for you, you can also head to the link in my bio and book a time on my calendar, or send me a DM and we can figure out a time together. But I will see you all. This was so fun. I'll probably see you all on Monday. Go make some money. Go sit with yourselves. Go learn what's going on inside. Go learn how to let your intuition be your guide. And be sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. More so, I'm more active on Instagram. So follow me over on Instagram if you want, like, if you want more of this. I post more over there. I post a lot on Threads. Give me a follow over there. Same username all across the boards. And I will see you all on Monday. Bye.